Hi everyone, this is Jack Passmore. I hope my audio is improved. I've been routing it through a condenser mic, but to get rid of some issues with like noise on it, I had to put it through a USB hub, and I understand that's helping, although so I apologize if there are any audio issues. Cat hair, cat hair on my lens. Waiting for Ted Holden. I just sent him a link to talk to him about EU 2017. He is the co-author of, let me grab my copy. Uh, Cosmos in Collision. I think the type is coming out in reverse. It's so annoying. In any event, any EU people would recognize that that is an homage to Emmanuel Velikovsky and his co-author Troy McLaughlin and I. Well, no, Troy caused a fantastic stir early in the year when he produced a very graphically kind of concise and not, elaborate, but incredibly informative first part one of the Ganymede hypothesis theory. Now, the current issue, put it politely, is Ted is a titular member going back to 1972, along with every other, inspired maverick. His academic qualifications are in mathematics, although he ended up being a computer scientist and a software engineer for most of his career. I hope I'm stating all this. Anyway, let's see where he's at. Let me see if I can't get him to show up here. If not, I have another friend who might want to join us, and that would be our friend Sarah Marshall. Hang on one moment. I'm going to mute my camera so I don't look dorky. But I'm still here. Oh, according to my little avatar, my audio looks good. Where are you, buddy? You send on a private message. Ted, where are you? Let me call him back. My apologies for the lag here and interesting things to hear about. I should know how to pause this darn hangout. It's live, so I don't think I can pause it. It's going straight to my YouTube channel. Hey, the link I sent in the private message or in private messenger in the Facebook. Do you see it? Okay, you want to jump? Good. How strange. You're not appearing in the Hangout. Hang on. Empty Hangout. What the frell is going on? Here, let me try inviting you another way. I'll send you an Gmail. Can I just send it to your Ganymede hypothesis at Gmail? Need 2 words, right? Wait, Ganymede, Ganyme. Yeah, that's what I thought. Hypothesis. Come on now. Come on now, Mrs. Thing. This happens from time to time. It's not even showing you as a Gmail account. Yeah, I didn't send it here. Let me try to send the link this way. Oh boy, I hate when this happens. It makes me look dumb. Copy. Jump over to Gmail. Compose an email to you. Yes, here we go. To Theodore Holden. There you are. Link and paste. And send. I may need to go into my little doodad here and activate joining by link. There we go. And click OK. All right, that ought to do it. Try you go ahead and try the link in Facebook again. I sent the email. Either way should work. Oh wait, let me grab that. Let me grab that link that it generates in the. That might help too. All right, here I'm getting the link straight out of the join by link utility, and I'm going to put that. Yeah. Here comes pasting. Paste. Paste and send. Quit the hang up on the Hangout that you're in and come and follow the link that I just sent to your messenger. See if that doesn't work. I'm gonna hang up with you. Okay, bye. All right. There I've had some like where I can't get Hangout stored through Firefox. I have to use Chrome. It's I think I'm being spoofed through an Android MAC address spoof. That's machine access code address spoofing. Because the returns I get when I go out on the internet are like Android related 10 on a laptop. So may sound a bit paranoid, but I find it to be perfectly a reasonable explanation for what goes on. For what goes on, darn it. Where are you, Ted? Come on, Ted, baby. Stand by for a minute here. I really shouldn't hit the start broadcast, but I wanted to give the introduction to what's going on. Anyway, to elaborate a little bit more, there is a person we won't name who's in charge of the breakout room activity last year when he was doing his presentation on the dinosaur thing, which is one of his bailiwicks and a germane to the Ganymede hypothesis. He was cut short very abruptly and rudely by, as I said, somebody has given him the crackpot stink eye. And to give somebody in the Thunderbolts group or in the Electric Universe the crackpot stink eye is completely antithetical to the entire ethic, to the entire principle of maverick science that welcomes contributions from inspired amateurs, outsiders, and non-experts. But then again, these are opinions. So, as I said early in the year, there really was quite a fun amount of feedback and back and forth that went on after Troy's video got spread around to some of the old timers. And my understanding from Ted was Don Scott was actually so taken that he actually went back and read Cosmos and Collision and had some very complimentary things to say about it. He's no slouch. Oh, there's Ted. Ted,
okay, I'm sorry, Jack. Look, it's like there were, like, where to start? I mean, I was seeing two IMs, you know, Facebook IMs from you, and
you're perfectly fine. I'm glad you made it.
Okay. Look, let me do an experiment here, Mr. Jack. It's like, you there?
I am. I just switched over to my avatar.
Okay, let me try this with and without the headphones because, you know, see which sounds better. Okay, this is with the headphones. And this
I like the headphones.
This is without the headphone. Okay, this is just the Logitech webcam and its microphone.
Hair is messy. You should turn off your camera.
I'm sorry?
Your hair is messy. You should turn off your camera and just use your icon.
The hair is messed up?
Yeah, you know, you're usually in your nice library with the wonderful sunlight behind you in the window and the bookshelf.
Can you hear me all right without the microphone?
I can hear you perfectly well.
Give me a second. Let me go get the hair. Hang on, hang on.
No, I didn't mean to make you feel vain or any, you know, or I didn't mean to make you feel self-conscious. I apologize for that.
Hang on, hang on.
You look so great in some of the videos you do. It's a contrast. I'm just gonna say that. Yeah, I'm turning my camera off because I feel dorky on camera. Come on, camera, turn off. Oh. There's Honky. I'm actually glad you wanted to keep this brief because I wanted to invite somebody else into the hangout. Sarah Marshall, she's a friend of mine on Facebook, and we're just getting to know each other, but she's really been she's just really been a real, like, incredibly good vibe in the consciousness sphere for me. So yeah. She calls me Pete Frog, which I find to be apropos.
Interesting.
Of me. Yeah. So go on and then you know, again, you know, I worry about poisoning the well and stuff. I gave a brief introduction about how you were cut off in the break room, about how you and Troy made a splash early in the year. You can recover that stuff. I talked about your credentials. I said you are a mathematician who has spent his career in software engineering and development.
Okay, like where do we even start with Thunderbolts? I mean, you know.
Well, let's start with you're not coming this year because you've been treated rather shabbily by somebody who is a late comer to the group, who has given you the screwball stink eye over something that even Don Scott said had merit to it, which is the Cosmos and Collision, your co-authored book with Troy McLaughlin.
Okay, Don Scott had read the book. I mean, after he watched that video of Troy's, right?
He was a Egyptologist, Troy McLaughlin.
He was, Don Scott was impressed both with the video and the book. And, you know, a number of people also were quite favorably impressed with that video. Now, there was an exception. Walt Thornhill didn't like the video. But
well, you can't please everybody, right? All the time.
No, you can't. It's like my brother used to be an auto wholesaler, right? And, you know, he said there was an ass for every seat, right? You know, you could find somebody that was right for any particular car, right? But you could take the best car in the world, there would be somebody that didn't like it. You know. The Thunderbolts group has moved too far in the direction of becoming yuppies. You know, I mean, that's what bothers me. It's like the three most interesting.
Well, let's qualify that by saying they're becoming incredibly shy about anything. What's the subject? Maybe taboo, anything that's too fringe, which is absurd, really. It's like
I can understand it in a way. You know, they don't want to be defending any more than the one heresy. You know, and they've caught all kinds of grief. You've had careers ruined by, you know, people talking about Immanuel Velikovsky, or talking about the electric universe, or talking about, you know, just petroglyphs and plasma physics phenomena, right? You've got the case of Anthony Peratt, right? Nonetheless, you've got a situation now where the three things which I consider to be the very most interesting and productive facets of this whole neo-catastrophism study, which has been going on for the last 60 years, have all become taboo subjects within the Thunderbolts group, right? And you know, there's several places to put blame in this, right? But it's like the three things I would talk about would be, like, number one, Mars and the Mars images. Number two, the question of antediluvian language. And the hell it is that, like, you've had like both Rupert Sheldrake and Dean Radin talking about telepathy, you know, at Thunderbolts events now. But it seems to be okay as long as you've got a PhD degree, you know, as long as your name starts with doctor, you know, but it's not okay for somebody like me to talk about things like that, right? I mean, I never had the PhD sickness. I saw that ruining lives when I was 22 or 23 years old and I got out. You know, I was seeing people that were like 35 years old and never done anything but go to school. At any rate, like I say, you've got these topics. The third topic is Ganymede, right? And
yeah, you know, I've had my mic on mute, so you can just go on your tirade, so to speak.
Yeah.
Not that you're on a tirade, you're actually being very gracious about what you have to say. And my phone started ringing in the middle of that, so just keep going on, and I apologize for interrupting you just now.
Right. You know, I mean, aside from anything which has happened in the past, I mean, 2 years ago, they did allow me to speak. You were there. You know, they did allow me to speak about Ganymede and human origins, you know, in that breakout room. And Gene Hafner knew about that. And you know, there were no ill effects, right? I mean, whatever happened.
The last two conferences, I would not have been there if it weren't for your gracious generosity of providing me transportation and accommodations, and also paying my admission. So thank you for that. And so not only was I there, but I was there entirely thanks to you and your friendship and your generosity. So let's not pass that point up. Thanks, Ted. It was great. And it's a shame if I do end up there by some miracle, I'm going to politely bewail your absence, I assure you.
Okay, Jack, look, it's like, you know, 2 years ago, I did speak about human origins and the things which you have to talk about, you know, the reason for wanting some, you know, something other than this planet for a human home world within our system, right? And, you know, the fact that humans are not descended from hominids, that's provable. The fact that humans never interbred with hominids, that's also demonstrable. And you know, the fact that you simply couldn't explain human existence via anything involving hominids, it's like you also have to try to account.
Ted, as Don, I'm sure, would agree, Don Scott, once you actually kind of look at the case that you and Troy have made by actually going through the data in the logical fashion in which it's presented, it isn't so outlandish or far out at all, and it borrows heavily from some real pioneers and some damn brave people in the areas such as anthropology.
Yeah, Lynn Morgan, the three people whose works mostly feed into this, Relaine Morgan, Danny Vendramini, and Eduardo Cardona, right? And Eduardo Cardona, of course, was like a grade A hero within the Thunderbolts group, right? Now, Eduardo has produced a number of books, 4 particularly, which talked about, dwarf stars and the relationship.
Yeah, God rest his soul. We lost Vardy last year.
Right. Eduardo has.
Or was it this year? Was it early this year or was it late last year?
Yeah, it was late. It was late last year. And
okay.
Eduardo has written a number of books which heavily document the case to be made for a primary system involving Saturn as a dwarf star, and then Mars and Earth within the heliosphere, the plasma sheath of the dwarf star, right, as an original system, right? Nonetheless, reading Eduardo's books is very, very difficult. I mean, you're looking at books which read like 500-page science journal articles, right? And that's just terribly hard. Now, the thing that brought Troy McLaughlin to my attention at first was the fact that he had actually read through these books and produced material that was readable, both the one book and that website of his, which goes into the question of a purple dawn and what the worlds looked like to people and creatures living on Earth at the time of this.
Look, yeah, Ted, I'm going to interrupt right here and say what you and Troy have accomplished deserves for both of you, I think, conference to be presenters on the main stage. I say that in total seriousness, being like a fanboy or anything else. And I make no apology for saying that. I think you've been treated very shabbily.
Okay, well, look, Jack, it's not, I mean, I don't want to blow my own horn or anything, but it's like, to my way of thinking, there's no question that this material about Ganymede is at least as interesting as anything that you've ever seen in the main hall. It is a coherent vision of human origins, which corresponds to the EDU, right? And that, I would think, is like a major addition to the picture, right? I mean, you would think they would want to hear about this. That's the thing that's sort of, that's sort of freaky about Thunderbolts, right? You understand what I'm saying? Right, like I've tried to
well,
I tried to hear the whole thing on a platter, right? I mean, I was willing to go.
Yeah, I don't want to name names, but the particular female who has never shown you any actual grace or anything other than, as I said again, she gives you the stink eye like you're a crackpot, and it just absolutely portrays her ignorance to the holistic picture.
See, I didn't even hold that against her, right? She walked in there last year, right, and cut that presentation about dinosaurs and gravity off with about 15 minutes left to go. And that was, you could say that
you were very rudely interrupted, man. It was, and you know what? You didn't even complain about it.
Well, I mean, I could halfway understand it. It's like, the previous presentation had run long and had gone into the time that was allotted for me, right? But I mean, the people that were in that room didn't have to immediately go out and get back into the main hall as if their lives depended on it. You understand the problem, right? Now, I didn't really, I didn't, in other words, I was reserving judgment at that point. I said, it could happen, right? I mean, I'm not going to.
I was totally outraged, but I didn't want to poison the well, and I kind of just held my tongue on the whole thing. But it pissed me off quite a bit.
Yeah, I can understand that, and I can understand anybody that really wanted to hear that last part about, what exactly gravity is. Like Ralph Sansbury studies. The question of gravity being an electrostatic dipole effect created by spin forces. That part got cut out of the presentation, right? So they did get.
Maybe that might be some of the source of Wall's like lack of affection for you, because he really has moved Sansbury's ideas forward, and I don't know if you've given him a fully fair shake on that. I'm going to tell you that because you know what, you're my friend, and I tell you the truth.
I'll tell you, my honest opinion of it is that, like, I believe I come a little bit closer to understanding Sansbury than Walt Thornhill does. Okay, I mean, you call that whatever you want, right? But
No,
You know,
this is where friends can politely disagree, and that's what the whole electric universe is about. That's why we
right,
have people like,
right.
everybody from Gene Braden coming in to, Sheldrake to all
Right.
these other luminaries
Yeah.
who are despised, by the way, by the establishment.
Okay, but anyway, let me go on. Okay, it's like I didn't anticipate any problems this year, in a particular Gene Hafner. Because she had known about the presentation 2 years ago, right? In other words, we did that presentation on Ganymede, and everybody was happy with it. I mean, I didn't hear anybody complaining or screaming or, telling anybody they needed to, do
Hey,
anything about.
do me a favor. Let's not name names on that particular individual because it doesn't serve any purpose.
Okay, okay. Well, nonetheless, yeah, you can edit that out, but sorry. So I didn't anticipate any problems, right? I mean, the presentation 2 years ago had gone off well enough. Everybody knew what was in the presentation 2 years ago. Nonetheless, this year, when this person running the breakout room, late in the game after I'd already signed on to talk about Ganymede again in the breakout room, without any conditions or anything like that, I start seeing these emails telling me that what they want is for me to like show slides from Troy's video and me,
No, Troy, Ted. I also have to add that she unilaterally prohibited me from filming your presentation, and you
hang on, I'm getting something weird.
you acceded to her unilateral banning of my filming your presentation, which was totally uncalled for.
Right. I'm getting some kind of a funny thing, Jack, which is telling me that I need to sign in with Skype or Microsoft account for Skype. Create an account, sign in with Facebook. I'm just going to break out of that. Let's click the X in the upper right.
Just dismiss it, man. It's probably like the NSA or something.
Yeah. Nonetheless, so I start getting these emails telling me that, that. Give me a second. I mean, I sent you some of that stuff last night, right? Telling me that they want me to do just color commentary on Troy's videos, right? And let's see if I can find this. For some reason, I'm having a hard time finding this right now. Let me go back to email, okay, and sent items, and let me just find this in email. It's a little bit simpler. Yeah. So she tells me that, she wants me to do color commentary on Troy's video, and then says, then if you want to mention that your passion is wild suppositions about human origins, you could say to meet you elsewhere to discuss it or go on the website, etc. I cannot live with human origins from Ganymede in the breakout room. Like what the hell is that?
Okay, now that's a bunch of horse shit. That's what that is.
To me, that's a stupid insult. That's a stupid insult. I told her if that was the case, I was going to cancel the whole thing. I wouldn't be there. You saw that, right? And I sent a letter to the one lady in charge. Can I mention that name?
No, it's probably not necessary to draw names on the people that were irritated.
I sent an email to the two people that run the Thunderbolts group, right? And I said that, I said I've reached an impasse trying to deal with, this woman that runs a breakout room regarding the content of my presentation for the breakout room in Phoenix, and this impasse will result in my missing the conference unless something can be done. She's attempting to insert altogether ignorant value judgments on the content of my presentation, and in my view is attempting to subject me to treatment which is shabby beyond what I'm willing to put up with. For that matter, I'm not aware of any other presenter ever having a clear presentation in such a manner. At this point, my attendance at the conference would depend on somebody higher in the Thunderbolts food chain making some sort of a decision, and such a decision could easily enough be to simply insert some sort of a disclaimer, such as the Ganymede hypothesis is the work of Theodore Holden and Troy McLaughlin, and does not necessarily reflect the thinking of the Thunderbolts group, and insert that at the beginning of the presentation. But I won't have Edith Bunker or this woman we're talking about determining content.
Well, Edith Bunker would probably a little bit.
Presentation.
That's what go ahead. Let's go ahead and really quickly, let me reiterate what you're saying. You're saying that you are perfectly willing to make a qualified statement.
Yeah, Jack, you're starting to break up. Jack,
right.
Your voice is starting to break up a little bit.
Okay, well, let's say you're willing to make the qualified statement.
Yeah, I was willing to insert a disclaimer at the beginning of the presentation. I said in particular, there's no separating the planetary aspects of human origins and the human origins aspects of Ganymede hypothesis. It's precisely the human origins material which tells us in absolute terms that Jupiter was part of a Sun, Jupiter, Mercury system prior to the Saturnian system being captured. I said, you might want to read through a bit of this email chain between myself and this other person for an idea as to what I'm less than happy about. And then, I'm sorry, it's right there in front of me. And then I get a return email from one of the two rulers, right? It says, hi, Ted, this might surprise you, but this other person who you derogatorily called Edith Bunker, shame on you, has the final say in the breakout rooms. Dave has never been involved in vetting those peer-to-peer talks, and I provide advice when asked for by this person. She's always had a very good sense of what topics are appropriate, and we back her 100%. I hope you and her, should be you and she, can work out something out because it would be a shame not to see you at the conference. Okay, ever onward, right? And I sent, I figured maybe she doesn't understand that I'm serious about this thing. I said, I replied to that. I said, this one would sever all ties between me and Thunderbolts. You wouldn't see me at this conference or any other Thunderbolts conferences. And I would have to get back to the email group, which was discussing Troy's video and the Ganymede hypothesis late last year, and inform them that there would be no such presentation in Phoenix this August, and explain the reason for it. So this other person may like you better than she likes me, but she agreed early on.
A great many people, I think, Ted, is not the same without you there, period.
Okay. She may like you better than she likes me, but she agreed early on to let me speak about the Ganymede hypothesis, and to come back now talking about spending 40 minutes showing clips from Troy's video while not mentioning human origins, which is what Ganymede hypothesis is about. And with these statements, aside from amounting to grotesque, stupid insults, is beyond the pale and unacceptable. I've sent her what amounts to a best and final offer and CC'd, you and the other person that run the thing, right? And the offer amounts to willingness to insert a disclaimer at the front of a realistic presentation. You might want to advise her to take it. Otherwise, as I mentioned, all relationship between me and Thunderbolts would be over. And I mean that. That's like I'm playing my life at this point as if the Thunderbolts group doesn't exist.
Ed, I think that reaction is a bit extreme. I think that you and Troy should take another year to polish your presentation. I think you should talk to the very tippy top people, and you know who I'm talking about, and anticipate presenting on the main stage.
Okay, well, I mean, at this point, I'm not going to be willing to speak to Cinderella or to deal with her anymore. and I'm not willing to deal with the breakout room anymore. That's it. And I'm not willing to do any of this stuff at my own expense anymore.
I think that's a very reasonable position to take. I don't think that you're being self-congratulatory. I don't think you're being egomaniacal. You are actually have been treated very shabbily. And it just makes me very unhappy to have to kind of pull this thing out in the public. But I will make this video public, and I will share it with certain select people.
I'll send you a copy of the. I'll send you a copy of the email list I was using last.
Okay, yeah, the email would be good. Yeah, that would be good. You know who else I'd like to have you on with is my friend Neil Thompson. He was an EU 2016 scholar. He's a wonderful guy, but he's young. Okay, he's young, and he's a bit dogmatic about science as a belief as opposed to a method, in my opinion.
Okay, you might want to think about that one a little bit. It's like he and I got into an amount of a flame war over this stuff. You know, like on Facebook.
I would love to see you guys. I would love to have you guys together on one of my hangouts to go at each other. I'll be happy to referee.
Yeah, I mean, this got to be a little bit meaner than just thunderbolts, right? This got to be talking about Justin Trudeau and, you know, like how cool or uncool a place Canada might be.
It always helps to have a third party there to keep you guys on topic. So if you're willing and he's willing, we can have you on together, you know, and have a boxing match. It'll be like, name one of the great matches, you know, like Sugar Ray Leonard and some young guy, you know, came up against him.
Yeah, the greatest prize fight I ever watched was like that first fight between Duran and Ray Leonard up there in Montreal. Any rate.
Okay, in that analogy, are you Duran or Leonard? Because I'm not up on my boxing history.
Oh, Duran stomped Ray Leonard to pieces up there. It looked like a train ran over him. You know, it's funny. But any rate, so you know, I
want to give you a chance to wrap up so we can keep this concise. So I'm just going to mute my mic.
Let me go to one more of these emails here and just.
Okay, no, go ahead and speak your piece, but let's try and keep it short so we can make sure that people will watch this all the way through.
Jack, I sent one more email to this same person we're talking about and said there may be one final possibility short of pulling the plug on the whole thing. I would be willing to insert a short disclaimer at the front of the presentation, i.e. something like the Ganymede hypothesis is the work of Theodore Holden and Troy McLaughlin and does not necessarily reflect the thinking of the Thunderbolts group. I could live with that. The idea of you determining what is or isn't allowed in such a presentation, however, is unacceptable, and I will cancel out if that's the only possibility being offered here. Okay. She replies, sorry to disappoint you, Ted. You offer no options that I can live with. Take care. And I said, you know, I sent one final email to consider my participation in the August conference canceled. And I sent another email to the one other person that, you know, runs the organization asking who to contact for a refund since I've already paid for the conference. Now, like I said, I've tried to hand these people this thing on a platter, right? You know, at my own expense, you know, with no assistance, no help from anybody or anything. This is a version, you know, a coherent and logical version of human origins, which corresponds exactly to the EU, right? You would think they'd be happy about that.
Look, it's as far-fetched and it's as wild and unbelievably unacceptable as Saturn being our original proto-sun.
Yeah, right.
Let me say, always had to fight tooth and claw to get his place on that stage and in that group. So I think you shouldn't write the whole thing off. I think you should be willing to go up over certain people.
Well, like I said, I mean, you know, I may feel cooler about the whole thing like next April and May or something like that, right? But if they want me there to tell anybody anything at all about, you know, it ain't happening for free. It's like, it's one of these things where, maybe I've been selling the whole thing too cheap, right? Maybe.
I agree. And you know something,
Yeah. Yeah, we're not talking about the breakout room at all. I'm not interested in the breakout room. If they
and it's already fine. It's a final decision, I might add. You're not coming to the 2017 conference, which is a damn shame. But I think that can
get their attention. I think I've gotten their attention.
Yeah. Troy's presentation was only half finished. You have time now to collaborate with him and to come back roaring.
Yeah.
I think again, you should maybe take this up privately with those people that Steinbacher used to have to go to get his place.
I'm planning on
where he belonged.
I'm planning on sending a final email to the one person that I did. Okay, and who I haven't heard from, and I just explain the situation, right? Include a color-coded version of this chain of emails. Right? Jack, I like Cinderella stories as much as anybody else, right? I mean, you've got Rossini's version, which is like Cenerentola, right? You've got, Benny Hill's version. Benny Hill's riding out across the realm with a glass straw to see, who it might fit, right? But there isn't any version of Cinderella in which the washerwoman or the girl who cleans chimneys is determining national policy. Yeah, that's the problem. I mean, this is the problem with somebody not knowing their place.
Absolutely. And Ted, I'll tell you from personal experience, once I actually settled down and gave you time to present your arguments, I found them to be incredibly insightful and intelligent and worthwhile.
Wait a second, Jack. Let me run one other thing by before we sign off here. It's like, I ran this by several people here recently. Like, what exactly is an elevator speech, like for the Ganymede hypothesis? I mean, this is just simple logic, right? And it's like one paragraph. I said the basic idea of the Ganymede hypothesis is not complicated and could be explained in 1 or 2 paragraphs if somebody really wanted to. The thing about the 4 bodies with the rough 26-degree axis tilt, Saturn, Neptune, Mars, and Earth, says to assume they were kept as a group. The Sun, Mercury, and Jupiter with axis tilts under 10 degrees should be assumed to have been an original basic system. That says that our system was originally a dual system with a very bright part to the north and a very dark part, Earth and Mars, inside the Saturnian plasma sheath to the south. The old creatures of the Earth, hominids, dinosaurs, lemurs, tarsiers, and whatnot, all have the same huge dark world eyes. Humans and dolphins with the smallest relative eye sizes of advanced animals should be assumed to have originated within the bright northern part of the system. Ganymede, for a number of reasons, would have amounted to an ideal human home world, or an ideal home world for humans and dolphins at that time. That's it. One paragraph, one short paragraph, right? I mean, why is that hard for anybody to swallow, or why is that hard for anybody to?
Actually, I'm going to help you refine your elevator pitch. That's because that's kind of my bag. But we'll talk about that privately.
Okay, I'll send that to you. Right, but I mean that's a short paragraph, and that's the whole basic idea of the Ganymede hypothesis. Right? I mean, so I mean, why does anybody have a problem with that, or why does anybody?
What's difficult about that elevator pitch is it presumes somebody having any kind of like comprehensive understanding of Saturn theory and all that. And I'm willing to lay down money that this person who's unilaterally shit on you in the whole break room thing has not read Duario's books.
Yeah.
Not qualified as an Egyptologist, and does not have the. How long have you been with the group? Since '72, am I wrong?
Yeah, well, like I say, I'm not going to have Edith Bunker making that kind of a decision. That kind of value judgment, and me just have to deal with it. It ain't gonna happen. So
I understand you're pissed, but don't let go of the fact that you're very kind and and forgiving, and that you actually are not usually affected by. So,
I don't get
you
pissed off
know,
easily, Jack. I mean, you've been around me enough. I mean, I don't get pissed off easily, but I mean, this one has done it. That's like, you know, you can understand the problem.
yeah, let's wrap it up. We can continue this conversation later. Maybe we can get some other people from the group to come in and talk to us about it. And also, we can have that Sugar Ray Leonard boxing match between you and Neil. I would love to see that. That would be great.
You know, it's funny because like one of the analogies that I've used in a couple of, you know, my little rhetoric collections is that there's a natural, you know, when you talk about like who exactly was Albert Einstein and who was Albert Einstein and what was, you know, relativity about. You know, I said there's an analogy between Albert Einstein and Muhammad Ali, right? You know, that Muhammad Ali was probably one of the best, if not the best, pure athletes who ever earned their living by boxing. That's exactly, it's not the same thing as being one of the greatest, you know, professional prize fighters, right? And the situation with Albert Einstein was similar. You know, the guy may have been, you know, of all the people that ever tried to earn the living at physics, he may have been the guy with the highest IQ, right? But that's not the same thing as being the greatest physicist. That's a long story. But at any rate, listen, Jack, I'm going to let you go here. I got to get back after a few things tonight.
All right. So in closing, I'm going to say,
right. Let me catch
in closing, I'm going to say, I have not seen any major presenter from the Thunderbolt group or from the Electric Universe not say things that are absolutely invite jeers rather than the critique of peers.
Yeah.
To steal a bit from David Talbot.
Right.
So hang in there, man. Don't throw in the towel. Remember not to speak of yourself with considering.
Okay, Jack, clean this thing up before you put it out in front of people, okay? Jack?
Okay, well, maybe this will just come to dry run, and we'll try it again in a couple of days.
Okay.
And I'll call you. We'll talk about it a little bit ahead of time. Maybe do a little pre-show prep.
Okay. All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Okay, so that was Ted Holden, clearly pissed off, not the kind of guy, one of the most gentle souls I've ever met. And he's annoyed as hell, and he has every right to be. He's been treated rather shabbily, to use his words. And that's okay. You know, that happens. That can all be attributed to miscommunication and kind of a lack of understanding or and other things like that. So let's everybody remember to remain as good-spirited and as good-natured with each other as we can, even if we disagree diametrically. And I want to just give everybody my blessing. And I am sending invisible cosmic turquoise effulgence to everybody out there to rejuvenate, supercharge their spirit with hope and happiness. And that is it for now. Take care, everyone. Goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.